Let's go. We have a couple of tenants. Wendy, anything to mention today?
Well, the usual thing on the just because it's there, the sign is with the 11 days of no sunlight. The solar lights were heading off at about 8:30 or 9, and but I'm sure the tenant who lives on the corner without the street light that's on our property, that's still out. So I don't know if the part is still hopefully not in the limbo that the part for the elevator was in. So that's still dark. And then I hope CallMax is working for management because messages just don't seem to be, well, I haven't gotten anything from them. And last Monday, I stepped out of the apartment and noticed that MJ Daily was on the site and their intent was to come into the apartments, which there was no notice for. So I had to rearrange two things so they could go into the apartment, since my apartment is the only one of the four that requires taking everything out of the closet. But I had a project that was in front of that, so I had to throw everything that I had put in order into boxes, which is just a continuous thing when there's no notification of something happening. So don't know what's going on, but CallMax is, I don't know. So hopefully it's working for screening calls for Amy to get, but I don't know why things aren't going that way. Thank you.
Hey, Wendy, this is Ann speaking.
Hi.
Would it be possible, do you feel comfortable with giving your phone number now, or would you mind, I can call you back? What I want to do is log into the system to make sure that what we have on file for you is accurate. If you feel comfortable giving the phone number now, otherwise stopping in to see Amy tomorrow and she can confirm that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it probably does work.
Okay.
But when in two cases, maintenance, and there was a bug inspection, or the interior pest control people came, I think 2 meetings ago or something, and Amy said that they were supposed to come, or there was a mix-up, and the Mill apartments weren't supposed to be done. They were going to be delayed, and it turned out to be that didn't happen. So maintenance had to go into 40 apartments without people getting the proper notification.
Wendy, it might be helpful if you gave Ann your number or give it to Amy tomorrow.
Yeah, I just don't want to give it out now.
Yeah, that's fine. I want to respect that privacy. So I'll just give Amy the heads up. But I mean, as far as I'm aware, everybody that has provided phone numbers other than blocking us because they didn't know what our number was, that has been the only other thing. But we can do a test with you to make sure that we're getting and reaching you and your number that you've provided us.
Yeah, so sometimes my answering machine is full, but I have a phone that records a phone call that comes in. So I could figure that out, but hasn't been anything. So thank you.
All right.
I'll try to get in touch with Amy tomorrow. Thank you.
I'll write her a message right now letting her know.
Thank you.
Okay. Cindy, anything from you?
No, I'll give a shout out to the team. I don't know if you all knew about Eversource and the gas leaks and all that went on. And Amy, I don't know what time you left. I know that Gunnar knocked on my door at 1 a.m. to turn my heat back on, which I really appreciated. So, I mean, you guys, amazing. Thank you again, Amy and team.
Wow. That's great.
I'll relay the message to Amy. She's not on the call today, so I'll send her the kudos. Thank you. We appreciate that.
And definitely to Gunnar and Gio. I mean, one in the morning to turn my heat back, great, because it was getting cold. it had been off, I think maybe at that time, 7, 8 hours. So it was really something that I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, really? And he's like, yeah, I'll turn the heat on. And I'm like, thank you. Oh yeah, really great. Thank you.
All right, super.
To take state time.
I want to follow up on the lights a bit that Wendy was mentioning. I did replace the solar lights with supposedly
Yeah.
ones that are better.
Yeah.
But I put 2 on each side, and I noticed that one of the ones looks like the kids waiting for the bus have destroyed it. But they were fully charged, when I put them in, but we just haven't had a whole lot of sunlight since then. But
Yeah.
hopefully they'll,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that was just the score of after the 11 or 10 straight days of not much sun.
clouds, right?
So, but better, it'll probably be longer now. But yeah, I
So,
did
well,
notice the new lights. Thank
Yeah, the
you.
days are getting longer. I've got to go figure out what's going on with that fourth one. It looked like it was in a little heap on the ground. So it looks like it
Yeah.
got kicked over or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So-
or it might have been the snow issue or something like that too. I don't know.
No, they wouldn't be plowing up there. It would be fine
No,
with it.
but just with kids kicking in snow or something.
So,
Right. Thank you.
yep.
All right, super. So why don't we go to management reports?
Sure. I'm going to cover for Amy today. She left home not feeling well. So she provides us the weekly report, which we've included in the board package. A couple amendments to the notes she provided is that 3:35, she did a lease signing today. The move-in is going to be for 2:15, not for 2:10. Again, she just wanted me to convey this challenge that we've been having of that number with the sweet spot in terms of people's ability to pay the rent that we're asking for and meeting the various minimum and maximum income limits. And again, that we're trying to work with and doing some community outreach to see if there's other people who have wait lists that might fit this niche in this span of income that we're looking for. We did successfully evict a couple households for non-payment of rent, and there are some work that needs to do in some of those units where tenants weren't kind to the units as they were moving out. And we have a couple requests. Oh, sorry, back it up. We can go over those building requests, one of which was noted was that sprinkler system inspection. The next one, just to give you guys a heads up, is going to be beginning of April. April 10th is what we have scheduled. So it's every 3 months from when they're done. For the townhouses, quarterly, and then for the tall buildings, it's just once yearly. Then we're just trying to get dates as quickly as we can and get that notice out to everybody.
And what were you talking about in April that's going to happen? I didn't hear you.
April 10th, MJ Daly will be doing a second, their second year
the sprinklers.
inspection. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
So the total vacancies are still 4.
I can count on, I believe it is 4. I can double check that for you. I'm just not
Okay.
remembering off the top. And I believe that she listed the units 335, 324, 111 was the one that we've been near missed. As we get to that point where we're ready and then we find that their income isn't what they're telling us, or they can't take it, or they back out because of the rent amounts and so on. And then 411 is an eviction. It's a RAD unit, and we have a lot of people who may be eligible. They just need to earn little. And that's actually also been a challenge. They can't go into the program not using the subsidy on day one. So they need to be very low, very, very low income households.
This is
Go ahead.
This is Wendy again.
Yes.
About the well, it's sort of related to my getting messages out. It's very confusing when you mentioned townhouses and tall buildings. I think in any kind of speaking of things, maybe phase one, phase two, and the people who've lived in mill apartments, they would know what mill apartments are, but when some of them are referred to as townhouses, and that can be very confusing to people. So I don't know how you want to do it, but townhouses, or calling mills, those have been other ways of determining it. It's just very confusing, and people will not understand, I think.
What would you prefer
Thank you.
calling it? The Wendy Apartments?
The mill apartments, which is what they had been, but some of them are townhouses, some of them are single apartments. So if you make an announcement saying townhouses, people don't know what that means. And in terms of MJ Daily, there are only 4 tenants that have that inspection. And only one, the Wendy apartment, is the one where things get totally thrown. The apartment gets, it's just not right to have someone knock on the door and want to get into the space, and you have to clean out the apartment or you have to move everything that you've been working on and to get the empty closet, where if there was some notification before the knock on the door, and I'm sounding upset because this is 3 managements that can't get that right. And MJ Daily knows when they're coming, and they make some sort of announcement to the management, but it doesn't get to the tenants. And thank you.
Okay. So I think the plan to start off with reaching out to Amy tomorrow, and I've sent out the email to her already to expect your visit. We can just to confirm and run tests to make sure that we're reaching you. Okay.
Yeah. I can maybe leave a Callmax phone message, and in the morning with a message, and maybe she can call back, and I will see if the phone number comes onto my phone. And I will stop by if I see her car.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks. Sorry I'm getting upset, but it's just been 7 years of this, and the sprinkler system is because there were apartments that were flooded because this system wasn't in.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Okay. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Just to pick back up in terms of some of the things that are going on with the building. The generator installation, as you heard, we've been on the peripherals with the installation and the connections on this, and during the connection piece of it, and then there was also tenants that were saying that they're smelling gas leaks, that a gas leak was discovered, and gas leaks are, it seems, never discovered between the hours of 9 and 5, or maybe close to 5, and then it's usually a showdown after that, which was the case this past week. So it was discovered, and we got Eversource there around 4 or 5 o'clock. We're told to shut down the buildings entirely to make sure that there wasn't any issues of sparks or causing bigger issues. They isolated a couple different things that were going on. Some were couplings that weren't right. There was actually a nail through one of the pipes. Amy's sent a couple of different pictures on some things, but it seems they've identified where all the leaks are and have addressed them. And yes, everybody had to be shut down, and every single unit needed to be turned back on manually to make sure it was turned on safely, and people had to heat again. So the team did do that a couple times for some of the buildings, just once for another building, but it seems to be resolved. I don't know where we are in the actual physical connection and making the switch over to having operating generators.
So this only affected Millport 1 and 2 with the gas leak?
Millport 1 and 2 with the gas leak, yes. And it was 3 of the 4 buildings originally, but then there was some issue with the 4th building. I can't remember the exact order. I'll pull up the emails. If you'd like to have more detail, I can send that to you. But just know
Please.
that we believe that it's been resolved. Okay, so I'll find those emails and get those over to you guys.
So was this gas for the generators or gas serving the heating systems? Or they turned it all
They
off in the
didn't
whole
know.
building?
They just turned it all off in an abundance of caution. But it was my understanding due to the installation for the generators.
Yeah, so hey, this is Rick. So what they discovered when they went to connect the generators to the gas was that they found leaking manifolds and wound up shutting down all of the buildings to isolate or to discover where the manifolds were leaking exactly and then fix those. So it was a kind of an all hands on deck, all of a sudden emergency that was unexpected.
Didn't they put in the manifolds?
They did, yep.
I guess that's one way to get their attention.
Yeah, just call it a gas leak.
It's
Oh,
not a
by the way,
strange
when you're
thing to
here,
the
we got some
docs.
meters to look at too.
And
What I
But,
think is
yeah.
interesting is I was one of the units, and like I said, Gunner, amazing. The team did an amazing job because it did happen at 5 o'clock. But I think Louise Simpson, when I talked to Louise, because she was also shut down, and we're friends, she had told me the funniest, the strangest thing that I did not know. She said that in your lease, you cannot put a nail through the wall because you'll hit the gas line. And I was like, what? Because I don't
We've had
have
that
any
happen.
pictures hanging. Yeah, and you just said that there was a nail through the gas line. So I think maybe that needs to be like pointed out when people move in because I did not know that.
Yeah, it was external. It wasn't a tenant with a nail. It was something else on the construction end.
Oh, okay, because that was really interesting because I did not know that. If you put
Yeah.
that, you could hit with a nail.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Usually they're protected pretty well in the walls. Gas lines
Actually,
are.
they're not.
we-
You know, we did
They're
have a
not.
problem some
They're
years
not.
ago
Peggy,
where
they're
someone was
not.
hanging up a bracket for a flat screen TV. I actually went through the wall right into a gas pipe. So everything had to be shut down in that building because there was a gas leak because of that. So
Yeah,
it does
Louise
happen.
told me that they're not. Yeah, it's not as well insulated as you might think. But again, I don't know.
Yeah, so I know that it started at building 33, but it ended up being 33. Sorry, I just closed the email on myself. Why would I do that? 33, 35, and 59 were all shut down. It didn't seem that there was something affecting 61. But each unit had to be shut down from the furnace and the stove in order to make sure they could, and then everyone was turned on individually to get tested to see if there was any sort of change in the pressure. And then that one shut down, gone to the next. So they had to go through the whole, all those units to make sure that we isolated and made sure that everything was safe. So, again, I think that it's been repaired. We've had plumbers out and testing and doing what they need to do to get things done quickly. We are still waiting for another part on the elevator because it was discovered that the phone is still out due to the power surge burning out the entire system. Following up with the elevator company regarding that. We are going to be getting some quotes and proposals to get the cracks sealed For the springtime, the staff is also requesting, and they're going to be measuring, they'd like to get gutter covers for the mills in the back of building 61. Not a bad idea. Again, just trying to get some prices and figure out what our options are. Again, more of a spring project, but going to get the measurements ahead of time. The staff is circling back about their request for a vehicle. And then there was a couple other appliances that were needed to make apartments whole that they're requesting.
And
Mhm.
getting back to what you said about the cracks, are we talking about repaving the driveway, which has been on the agenda for a long time?
Right, repaving or crack sealing. One or
There's a
two, but
difference.
either one. At a minimum, the cracks need to be sealed for the HUD inspection that we had. So that was noted as one of our items that we need to address. So that was at minimum. And then the alternate, which would fix it, would be the repaving. So getting prices for both things. And other than that, that was taking care of the property status report. Did anybody have any questions in regards to those items?
I have a question. The truck keeps coming up. What is the process for doing that?
I had in my notes that somebody on the board was reaching out to somebody that they knew to find out about leases. I'll be glad to sort of help take the helm on that, but.
Bernie, I think you were going to call Carl.
Yes, I think I was going to, but didn't get a chance. I will. I'll speak to Steve.
Steve Carl.
The only trepidation that I was thinking with the leasing option was just from an insurance and liability standpoint and what they're going to ask of us. But I can, see if there's any other legalese that we need to be aware of from like the HUD, or I don't think for the tax credit purpose they care, but more for the HUD end of it.
And Rick, what were you saying you wanted? What kind of vehicle? It's like
a truck, I believe, with a 6 or 8 foot bed.
Yeah. Just a pickup truck is what we're thinking.
No, 8 minutes to walk.
How long a bed?
You should park anywhere around here.
Either a 6 or 8 foot, probably an 8 foot.
Okay.
Okay.
And I was even thinking CarMax or something used, doesn't need to be brand spanking. Anything else on that end of it? Did you want me to get into the financial report or just as an overgloss and how we're doing, or is there, is that something for more executive session?
I think
Well, as
most
long
of
as
the
you don't mention
finan-
individual names, you can do it now.
Yeah,
Okay. So I'll pull that up real quick. So as we're working, oh, that's the report. Oh my goodness gracious. As we were going through the reports today, we were looking at some of the, in general, I think we're trending in the direction that we've been trending and actually a little bit better, particularly with Mill Apartments and Mill Phase 1 with the collection efforts. We could really see that the cash on hand has changed. I know that I have received in a lot of the retro DSS payments that were due to us, and we continue to see those come in. And working with Michelle Molina and their team with getting those things made whole. So we've made a lot of progress on that end of the collections, and then continue to hold residents, I'm going to say this as an umbrella, hold residents accountable in terms of their need to pay and repay based on the terms that we set up with them. For the also the number is vacillating with the vacancies, and Amy has been continuing to work on filling them. And no sooner do we start to get to the point where we're all filled that we have more vacancies come up. So it seems to be a big cycle. I've been encouraging her to get more than just one or two households to come in at a time to fill a vacancy, and get more like 10, because out of that 10, it's seemingly like 1 of 10 that we can get into a unit. So just to try to get more feet, and even if worst case scenario, you have 2 households that qualify for a unit, well, the next unit that comes up, you know that you already have a qualified unit that you'll move a little faster on in the leasing process. So working on different systems to try to close the gap on vacancies. As usual, just carry through 2023. The killer and the budget busters were the mortgage or the insurance premiums for the year. That, you know, we are working towards changing and going to be in a better place. Had we not had that, in general, our budgets would be cash flowing as predicted. I don't know what more you would like to have me focus on or have any questions on based on your review. And if you do have any questions too, I can certainly take it by email and respond to you after taking some time looking at specifics.
Anyone else for anything specific right now, or?
Just a question. We received the audit on Millport 2? And are the same things going on for Millport 1 and the mills? Is that right?
In regards to the audits?
Mm-hmm.
I know that I just received some invoices on some things that were outstanding, and I know we were kind of chipping away at some of the items. I don't know which one has and has not been received, to tell you truthfully.
Okay.
I can find that out, and I will ask where we are in that process.
I mean, I think most of the audits are coming across, and again, they're kind of a little bit opaque. As with any real estate deal, it becomes interesting trying to fully decipher, and add in the tax credits and the stuff that makes it very interesting.
But yeah, there's not really too many. I mean, and looking at the P&Ls just on an individual, like monthly basis on specific GL lines, there was really nothing that has been jumping up at me and bit me on the nose to say, hey, what's this? Other than the fact that we want to adjust the way that we're grossing our gross potential, or documenting our gross potential, and how we decided that we are going to change, not book what we can collect, but book what we are collecting for the unit moving forward. Oh, sorry, I can't believe I forgot to tell you guys this. So we are migrating away from Boston Post. We've had enough issues with them entered Happy Dance. We've had enough issues with them. We're moving to another MRI product called Affordable Housing, which based on everything that I've been doing with the training, I think is going to be a much better product. And I'm working with them on the training and the migration, creating users. I'm really in the beginning end of moving and making the shift. Shifts are always a little bit anxiety provoking, but in the end, I think it's going to be wonderful, because we're going to be pulling over the data that we need, not the data that's wrong. So moving forward, it should be seamless with our interaction with QuickBooks and how we do our reporting and so on and so forth. So I'm really, really, really excited to announce that.
When are you start? Is that going to be as of January 1st?
Well, no, we're working on it now. They've been working on it on the back end of it since November, in terms of how they want to catalog and how build. Literally, I can create users in the program. I'm creating roles of what they need to do. Like, I'm in such a base point of it, but anticipate based on templates and things that I know, I'm going to be moving it forward for a June 1st, maybe July 1st live kickoff. I was asking if I could push it to the July 1st, only just then we have the full 6 months under our belt. Additionally, and it might make it easier to catch anything that might be off. But also just to buy us that extra month of running something parallel in terms of vouchering, in terms of how we're running reports and how we're doing things, just to have that little extra time to work out any sort of nuances.
I would
And-
think too, July 1st would be good because you get the first 2 quarters behind you,
Right, exactly.
reporting and stuff, so.
And I have a question. Is the product just called affordable housing, or is it a part of another program with housing?
So it is an MRI, which owns Boston Post too. It's just it's called affordable
Okay.
housing.
Right, so it's a different product than MRI. Yes, okay.
Right. Like Yardi has Voyager and something else, and one Real Page has one
I'm
site.
aware of
and-
Yardi. I'm not aware of this.
Yeah. So MRI is really turning into, like, they bought a lot of like AHAP and some other programs that some other housing authorities have used in the past. They've really absorbed a lot of some of the smaller guys and put it under their umbrella and are encouraging most to move to this affordable housing product. It also integrates really well with CallMax and some of their other systems. So it just is going to make our management a little bit more efficient in terms of how we run things. So looking forward to it.
It remains to be seen.
All right. I mean, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but really excited about it. All right. That's sort of my nutshell.
Sounds good.
Anything else?
Did we decide going forward that we were going to write off some of the bad debts? I know we had talked about that at one point with Rick.
Yeah. So the auditors said, I can tell you because there were some, I had actually said, may I write some of this off for this month's board report? And I think we're going to I'm making those suggestions for what is being written off. The auditors came back, said that the amounts were non-consequential. So.
Yeah, so we have the totals from the audit for the write-offs, and we're just going to go through the totals and match them up to the receivables report and determine, which ones we definitely want to write off, and also determine if there's anything that we do not want to write off. So that's still those numbers are still in draft form.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah, it's inconsequential, except for they haven't looked at our financials.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
$8, we need that.
Right.
Yeah, we still want it.
That's right.
And
Still fighting for it.
writing it off has no effect on our legal
Ability to collect.
Right. Okay. No. Okay.
Just
Or
moving it from one bucket to another.
Or our willingness.
Right. Oh, I want to get them. Are you kidding me?
Okay. At that point, is there any other public comment stuff before we move to executive session?
No, I don't think so. Thank you. Sorry
Thank you,
about
Cindy.
my tirade, but
Oh, Wendy, no worries. We want to
Yeah.
make sure you're getting notified, not, if there's a flaw
Yeah.
in our system, we want to address it. So I don't want you to be frustrated. Because if not, then we
Well,
need to come up with a different system. That's all that
Well,
says to me. So
yeah, I
let's-
mean, it's not the well, I'm just not sure that the other 4 tenants were notified. But in the Wendy apartment, it's the only one that is in behind a closet. Everyone else they may have furniture in front of it, which would be an obstacle for them, because I know one tenant previously had a piece of furniture broken because of having to do this inspection.
right.
So it's, if we can get an actual heads up, with a piece of paper on the 4 apartments or something, back to that. But and it's
But
also
no,
within
April 10th, that's around the time that they've so far scheduled.
Okay,
April,
Thank
April
you.
10th.
yep. But it also seemed with the, describing the buildings, when you were describing which buildings had the gas, it's building 33, 35, 59, 61 and Mill is very helpful because I think the tenants would know what's being talked about as opposed to townhouses and tall buildings and short buildings. I don't know. So anyway, thank you very much for listening.
All right.
And
Thank
thank
you,
you for
Wendy.
everything you did because it sounds like that gas was, just a fun thing. So good luck to Amy and all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay.
Good night.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey, Scott.
Bye-bye, Cindy. All right. Now in that part of names, anyone we should be paying attention to?